Real Estate Rockstars, this is Erin Bradley. Hey, you've probably heard about the Mastermind that we hosted in Austin over the last 4 years for all of our podcast listeners. And this last March, we had a fantastic time, a bunch of amazing speakers, and great fellowship. Well, I wanted to take some of those speaker talks that we had and release them to you guys here on the podcast so you can get the value that our members got when they were there, and also make you think about maybe joining us next year. So we've just released the dates for next year. It's February 25th through 27th, and we're only selling tickets for the next 30 or 40 days, and then we're going to lock down the orders, and so we can start, sending out the value ads for all of that. And if you end up joining the podcast Mastermind, if you end up signing for the Mastermind, you get to become a part of our private Facebook group, our private Circle app, all sorts of referrals between different people. And then you'll also get recordings, all the recordings for the past several years of Masterminds that we've had. But, just so you can hear a little bit more about kind of what you missed, get some added value just for being a listener, because I appreciate all of you guys that are here. Here is one of the clips of that, or here's one of the, 45-minute talks. I hope you guys love it.
Hi, everyone. All right. I was actually thinking after, my husband was a DJ when I met him 20 some years ago, and I asked him for what my walkout song should be, and he picked Curtis Mayfield. And then I was talking with somebody about my 8 years of Irish step dancing, Deb, and I was like, I should have done an Irish jig. One of my secret superpowers is that I can really do some high kicking. But anyway, that'll get me fired up. So it's a real honor to be here. And I was saying at the table earlier, and John was talking about it, that I feel like I just texted my older sister this too. I'm living inside of a daydream of myself 10 years ago, and how I had started listening to the Real Estate Rockstars podcast roughly when it came out, I think in 2014. And I'll share a little bit of my backstory in a moment, but as I was coming up in the mortgage space, I was sharing these podcast episodes with people and learning and filling my brain. And so to be standing here, to have been a guest on the show with Erin last year was a literal fangirl moment of holy shit, this is happening. You have those pipe dreams, those ideas that creep into your brain, and then they're immediately followed by the limiting beliefs, right? So how often do you hear yourself saying you see somebody on a stage, you're like, I wish I could, but... And I always tell people, get intimate with those things that follow the but. Because if you write it out, it's your fear. And that's okay, because like Matt talked about, we all have fear, and we have access to faith, right? And so next time you hear yourself saying, I wish I could, but, allow yourself to get close with those thoughts, because all you're doing is defending the limitation of our minds. And there's not a single person in here, or anyone that we admire or love, who doesn't experience fear. It's just what we choose to do in spite of it. And so, I feel like, to Daniel's point, I've been drinking from a fire hose of just so many good ideas that I want to reiterate. But my goal here today is to awaken within all of us the possibility that whatever that pipe dream might be, it could be available to us faster than we could possibly imagine. How many people in this room, show of hands, have experienced a quantum leap at some point in your life? Exponential growth. If you go back to your 20-year-old self, except for you, because you're not even 20 yet, so we'll remember this in 20 years, okay? If you go back to your 20-year-old self, in some capacity, you've likely exceeded the expectations of him or her, right? There's some area of your life where your 20-year-old version of you had no clue that, Erin's 20-year-old self did not know he was going to do an Ironman, right? And I'm sure that Daniel's 20-year-old self didn't know he was going to go on to have this massive real estate team, right? We've all exceeded our own expectations at some point in our lives. And what's cool about that is that when we get dealt circumstances, which we do, life happens to us, right? Life happens, markets shift, traumatic events, babies are born, weddings happen, life happens, right? And it derails us sometimes. Sometimes it knocks us right down on our asses. And then we feel stuck. We're in that little rut, like Matt was talking about, right? The difference between a rut and a grave is how long we choose to stay there. I loved that. So we're always on the leading edge of the possibility that there's a quantum leap that's going to exceed the expectations of our now reality. And we're all living proof that we've already proven ourselves wrong. So why not give ourselves permission to daydream a little bit? So if anyone here has experienced that rut, that fear, the insecurity, the self-doubt, the wondering when the market's gonna change, when the rates are gonna come down. We've all been going through it, and yet we're a witness to people thriving, right? So come back to that I wish I could, but, and then think about other times that you find yourself defending the limitations of your mind. Well, I can't do that because, fill in the blanks. More fear, right? It's too late for me. I should have started when I was younger. If it weren't for these external factors or this thing that I navigated. But at the end of the day, those fears just become the stories that become the excuses. Because if anyone in this room is capable of thriving in this market or in any market or achieving that Ironman or whatever, the only difference between us and them is the decision to do it. Erin shared his story of the Ironman. He didn't make it sound easy, did he? It wasn't easy, but he made a decision. And between that decision and the outcome that we're admiring was a lot of trying and practicing and failing and falling down and getting up and keep going. So someone in this room said something in these 3 days that has inspired you. And I want us all to leave here remembering we have a choice between where we are and where we want to be. It's just a decision. The path will only unfold once we've made the decision to go to the place we can't believe is even possible before it's happened, right? So let's jump right in. I'll share a little backstory about pursuing freedom in a moment. My motto with pursuing freedom is that the goal is to build a life you don't need a vacation from. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment here. But these pictures, okay, so this is the other day, and it's my friend's birthday. And does anybody here know what skinning up the mountain is? What? Listen, dirty birds, it's appropriate. It's okay. So skinning up the mountain is you get these custom fit things called skins that you put on the bottom of your skis, and it allows you to go straight up the mountain and not slide down. And then you change the bindings, you peel off the skis, and you ski down. It's a great way to start the day, especially if you want to do it like at sunrise before the lifts have opened. So if it's a beautiful powder day and you skin up, you're going to get those first tracks coming down. If it's a bluebird day like this, well, this was in the afternoon, and there was going to be some live music at the top of the mountain. And I mentioned to a few of you, I live in Winter Park, Colorado. It's a ski town. And my friend had the brilliant idea that because it was the end of the day and all the traffic is coming down the mountain on this beautiful day, we should just cut through these trees here on the right, and we can just zig and zag. It's no big deal. Well, first of all, when we start zigging and zagging through these trees, it's a black, okay? It's a black run. It's super, super steep. We did not have fresh snow, so it is slippery. And we are sliding down, and I am literally holding on to these trees for dear life, and I'm like thanking the trees, because like as you're sliding backwards down a black, it's kind of scary. The picture in the top left, I look happy. I'm not, I'm terrified. But I'm laughing so hard because I'm like literally thinking I'm about to go sliding down this mountain, and you can't tell how steep it is, but it's pretty freaking steep. And if I were to actually get on my butt, it was gonna be like a full send all the way down this, like not fun, like sledding like a little kid, like maybe limbs breaking, things like that. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and for some reason, I had all my slides ready to go. I was about to hit send to give these slides, and I had this epiphany, like I need to incorporate this in the speech next week, because I'm like, I'm hugging the tree, and it made me think about this slide that I've used in the past about the tree and how the farmer doesn't plant a seed and expect an oak tree tomorrow, right? You gotta plant that seed, you gotta nurture it, water it, right? Give it the right nutrients and environment. And I was thinking about that slide, and then I'm like, but wait a minute, this is the Real Estate Rockstars. And we don't have time for that. We wanna have a quantum leap. And the best part about it is that we're not trees. Human beings actually have the potential to do the things to create exponential growth that far exceeds the expectation of the planter. I mean, the farmer that plants the seed, right? And so I was laughing because I'm thinking like, we're no fucking oak trees. We're gonna do exponential growth. We're human beings. We're gonna put the systems in place. And Daniel was talking about systems, and that's what I wanna share with you today, is a system that you can customize to create radical exponential growth in as little as 90 days, because I think that's a strong desire of most of the people here in this market and in this industry right now. So unless you're already set for life, which we all know, even some of you in the room are, in my opinion, maybe set for life, but you're always gonna have new desires. You're always gonna be expanding towards the next thing. And this market and the political climate, the economic climate, like unless you're set for life, there's a strong probability that with inflation, we all feel a little bit of pressure to earn some more money. Does anybody here wanna earn more money? Okay, great. And then, how many of us in the room can relate to this? You had your best month ever, you've earned a lot of money, and you found yourself drowning in your own success. Has anyone here experienced burnout ever? Yeah, so the problem is that we ride this roller coaster of stress when the business is slow and stress when the business is busy. And so in my personal experience, funny story about that photo on the top left with my dad walking me down the aisle is that I went 100% commission in the mortgage space in 2007 and promptly fell flat on my face. I did so with no financial safety net, no systems, no confidence, absolutely terrified of being seen as salesy, refused to do 90% of the things they trained me to do, and as a result, it was the summer of 2008, perfect timing, right? Going 100% commission in 07, but it's 2008, it's a week before my wedding, I get a referral for a client, and I don't have enough money for gas. I've maxed out tens of thousands of dollars of credit card debt, and in order for me to meet this client 5 miles across town in the middle of the heat of summer, I have to ride my bike because I don't have enough money for gas. So then I have to think about what I'm gonna wear so I can ride a bike, look professional, and not be super sweaty when the client gets there. And unfortunately, even though I got there early to let the sweat dry off, the client got there early too. It was great. He introduced himself to me at the counter as my credit card was being declined for a $2 cup of coffee. And the worst part was, that was the card I thought would work. I was like, shit, if I try another card, he's gonna know. The gig is up and he's gonna know. So I just lied and I was like, oh, that's so weird. I'm gonna have to call the bank and it's my debit card. I don't know what's going on there. And he bought my coffee. And that's why I got all emotional with Matt's talk yesterday, because I called my dad for advice and I was like, this is so much harder than I thought. Going 100% commission is so much harder. How did you do it? He was self-employed in his 20s. He gives me advice. He says, listen, Erin, do you think you're gonna be good at this someday? And I'm like, I do. I think I could be good at this someday. He's like, all right, you gotta do whatever it takes. So I opened another credit card, hire my first coach, buy internet leads, whatever that means in 2008. And I was like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. And that was fine. I told the coach, I'm desperate, tell me what to do, and I'll do it. And for the next couple of years, I followed the plan. I did the activity, I had a system, I had the roadmap, I did the things. But how many of you, I don't know if I'm the only one, have you ever been given the playbook? We've all been to sales trainings, and I know it's not your first time here. We've been to sales trainings, you've been given the playbook. Have you ever found yourself doing the work, but something's not quite right? Like you just feel a little bit out of alignment, a little imposter syndrome, or just like some resistance around the execution, but out of desperation we do it. That's what I did for a couple years. I kept telling my husband, I don't even know if I'm cut out for this business. So it wasn't until 2011, I've been in the business 4 years. I'm closing deals, I'm paying bills, but I'm like, something's missing. Somebody gave me the book, The Go-Giver. Has anybody read The Go-Giver? Okay, if you haven't, highly recommend it. It completely changed my life. And the concept is that the goal is to give more in value than you hope to receive in payment. Be of value above and beyond what you get paid to do. Now, as real estate professionals, we've been given so many great tools for marketing ourselves, push marketing, be top of mind. You know, nowadays, social media, back then, mailers, e-newsletters, right? Billboards, posters, be everywhere, all the things. But what I want to ask you guys is, when Charlie woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning one night recently, he's my client, and he couldn't fall back asleep. Do you think he was thinking about my pipeline? My kids' college tuition? My net worth? My mortgage payment? No. He's thinking about whatever he's thinking about, right? So if he was my client and he closed a year or two ago, and I've lost touch with him, and I've been told that for me to solve my problem, which is to get more leads, to get more deals, to get more money, to pay my bills, to fill my void and satisfy my insecurity and my fear, my self-doubt and my uncertainty with this market, right? And I was told, just call your past clients. Now I'm gonna go call Charlie, and I'm thinking to myself, like, he doesn't wanna talk about real estate. And it's like, yeah, you're right, because that's a me problem. And because I'm thinking so much about myself and the problem I'm trying to solve, as I'm trying to muster up the courage to activate, to execute, to take action on the plan that the sales trainer told me would solve my problem, there's all this heaviness, right? There's all this resistance. I start thinking, what's he gonna think about me? I haven't talked to him, I lost touch, etc. Does anybody else struggle with this? Okay, so we did a little experiment with the strategy that I'm gonna share here, is that after I read The Go-Giver in 2011, I developed this strategy, which we're gonna get the cliff notes of today, but I also have a free download for you to get, like the free 5-step guide. It's basically just the cliff notes to my book. But what ended up happening by applying the strategies, the business more than doubled in 2012. And that's the picture of me pregnant with my second child, having gone from averaging like 30 transactions a year to doing about 80 transactions in 2012. Never expecting it, never planning for it, no foundation. Like throwing stuff against the wall to see what sticks, and they build a house on a crumbling foundation. I was becoming a shell of myself. I was drowning, running on fumes, and I remember the second time saying to my husband, I don't know if I'm cut out for this business. If this is what success looks like, I went to a dinner party looking like that for the company party at the end of the year, and I asked the women at the table that were ahead of me in the game, like if I was doing 20 million, they were doing 30 million. How are you doing this? I'm drowning over here. And they all admitted that they work until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. What does that do to your ambition if more means more? It's time to hire some help, but we don't have time to get into that. The point is, more means different. More means a completely different set of rules and circumstances, and that the future of your business will likely look unrecognizable to whatever you've been doing to get to where you've been, which is where you're hitting your head against that ceiling of your personal capacity, right? And we all have a limit, not to our potential for exponential growth. We know that. We've got enough people in the room here to demonstrate that there's really no limit to abundance, right? But there is a limit to our time, our energy, and then as a result, our enthusiasm. And when our enthusiasm wanes, what happens? I'm back in, I'm not in the mood, I don't feel like it, I know what I need to do, but. And then inconsistency in execution brings inconsistency in outcome. So really, truly, the only difference between where we are right now and the quantum leap that we crave is consistent activity for 90 days. And we need to address the bottleneck that if I think I'm calling Charlie to get a lead for me, that's a go-getter, it's gonna feel weird, it's gonna feel awkward, I'm likely gonna be inconsistent. If I could take my work hat off and come from a place of love, authenticity, and curiosity around how to be of value, be a go-giver, there should be no resistance. I should be unleashed in calling my buddy who I closed with a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, right? So we're gonna talk about exactly how, all right? So the truth about exponential growth is that it's available. I wish it was a straight line after that business more than doubled. I burned out, I almost quit the business. Luckily, someone told me to get some help. I got some help, okay? I wish it was a straight line. I hired my first team member in the summer of 2014. And after 90 days of training her, my biggest fear came true. The business dried up. I had 2 closings in August of 2014. I thought, uh-oh, I hired one of my best friends. I better get to work. We gotta fix this problem. So we applied this strategy and had 12 closings that December of 2014. We had 17 closings that March, which was more than we could handle, so we had to hire more people. The long story short is, quantum leaps are available from the moment you decide and the moment you adopt a system that feels aligned with who you are, that's infused with love, curiosity, and contribution, because your curiosity will squash your insecurity around picking up the phone all day long. And I loved how Bill talked about it and Daniel talked about it. Picking up the phone, building relationships is what we're here to do, okay? In 2018, if you guys were in the business, rates went up, the refi business died. I found myself in the red. My P&L was 75 grand in the red. By that point, I had hired my nanny after 2.5 years. I hired my neighbor. I was just dragging bodies on a speeding train. Like, everybody can do this, let's go. So I had a lot of responsibility. And that responsibility creates accountability, because I wasn't willing to let anybody go. So we applied the strategy, and we went from 3 closings a month in January to 9 a month by March to 17 a month by June. Okay, we 5 times the volume in 5 months. Would anybody here like to just triple your referrals in the next 90 days? Okay, so we're gonna do real fast, rapid fire. I might live in a ski town in Colorado, but I'm from Philly, so it's gonna have the East Coast coming here. All right, so 3 things we're gonna cover: who, how, and when. Who, all right? If you've been in the business a while, you are not the same person you were when you started. Even if you've been in the business 6 months, you're not the same person you were when you started. You have experienced unique life events that make you equipped to be of value to people in a very special way that others cannot, okay? The 25% rule is very similar to what Nicole said yesterday, and it's the best piece of advice I got 10 years ago from my business coach. 25% of people will love you no matter what. You know who they are. 25% never will, no matter what. You know who they are too, right? Those clients you just can't please. The 50% in between are your fair weather friends, or you just haven't met them yet. I want to build a life, a happy life, and a successful business around my 25%. And my 25% might evolve over time. Okay, when I was a first-time home buyer, I wanted to tell everybody, you can do it too. Down payment assistance, Get a gift, co-signer, house hack, whatever, right? When I became a real estate investor, I wanted to tell everybody it's easier than you think and start teaching that. If you're a veteran in the room, you have a unique opportunity to be of value to fellow former and active military, right? You are who you are. You have people in your life that bring a light to your life. So my first piece of homework for you when you go home from this conference is go to your database, and instead of organizing it based on your personal agenda and what you can get from those people, I want you to organize it based on the people that bring a smile to your face. I want you to go through the database and be like, oh my God, I have not talked to Barbara in 3 years. And she probably doesn't want to buy a house because she has a rate of 3%, and that was her forever home. And I haven't talked to her because I'm thinking she doesn't want to talk about real estate. That's a me problem, but I loved her. Is there more salesy for you to create a new friendship in a transaction, get to the closing table, get paid, and never talk to them again? Or is it more salesy to call Barbara and say, your name just popped up, you came into my mind, it's been so long, I'm embarrassed I've been so out of touch. How the heck have you been? And you could even say, I was at a training, at a conference, and this crazy lady on the stage said, I should call all my favorite people, and you were the first person who came to mind. Right? Is she gonna think, oh, she's so salesy? No, it's more salesy that I got paid and never talked to her again after a genuine connection. All right, so get clear on your 25%, start there, because this is how we lighten up and have a little fun with the process. Then I want you to think about the garden in springtime. If you live in a hot culture, maybe you can't relate to this, but if you live in a cold culture, then every spring you come out, your garden's a mess. It's filled with weeds, there's things that have been in there since you bought the place, you've never even evaluated, there's pretty stuff that comes up every year, and there's stuff that you plant. And when you plant those things that grow and you nurture them, they will multiply and expand. This is called business design. So once you've got your 25%, I want you to picture planting them in your garden and cut the fat. Cut everything else. I don't mean delete them from your database. I just mean an intentional communication plan to be of value to people above and beyond what you get paid to do. Be a resource even when they don't need your services, and you can become unleashed in massive engagement, relationship building, and value, and the money follows the contribution. So we clean up the garden, and the bottom middle represents the fact that if I really want to be of value to you when you don't need my services, I likely need other resources in my back pocket. So once you've closed on that new house, wouldn't it be an important conversation to make sure that you have a will or trust in place to protect your estate and your family? Isn't that a good conversation to have with every single one of your clients that's bought a house with you? Have you had that conversation? Have you had a conversation with them on who's helping them build their wealth? Real estate's just one piece of the wealth building journey, right? What about insurance, financial planner, estate attorney, CPA? What about the household services? John was talking about it, he's not here, but John was talking about that, right? Like having the old school yellow pages, the old school Rolodex. So that the purpose of my conversation when I call Barbara and Charlie isn't to get a lead necessarily. I take my work hat off and I call from a place of contribution and curiosity. I want to make sure I've got the tools in the tool belt. So I'm going to leverage the relationships I have to connect with the 5-star professionals that you know, like, and trust. And chances are, after a conversation with Barbara, she tells me she needs a good CPA, but she has an amazing estate attorney. I call Charlie. Charlie needs an estate attorney and has an amazing CPA. These 2 conversations lead me to 4 action items. I need to meet your estate attorney. I need to meet your CPA. I need to connect you two. And I'm going to create a ripple effect by building intentional relationships around my 25%. Remember, there's no resistance in this because I love these 2. Does that make sense? Okay? So we clean up the garden. We get curious on how to be a resource above and beyond what we get paid to do, which means we need people in our tool belt to be the connector to those resources. And when I meet those CPAs and estate attorneys and financial advisors and all the other people, I'm coming with business. But here's the key. I heard somebody say the word vendor list. There's something critically missing in the word vendor, 2 words, vendor list. It's not a relationship. If you feel an underlying sense of frustration around lack of reciprocity as it relates to the vendors that you send leads to, my question for you is, what is your relationship with that human being? Because our job titles do not define us. If every human being in this room has experienced insecurity, self-doubt, overwhelm, burnout, exhaustion, fear, hopes and dreams, right? We're human beings. We're not special, we're human beings. And our job title doesn't make that different. So if you can come from the place of getting to the bottom of the 3 a.m. moments, we call it, get to the bottom of the 3 a.m. moment with that person. You know what's on people's minds at 3 o'clock in the morning? Whatever they're excited about, what they're worried about, or what they're working on. If you can get to the bottom of one of those three things, you can find a way to be a resource. And in doing so, you can be of value to the people in your tribe of trusted local service providers, right? By introducing them to your community, and then you become infiltrating their community because you can be of value to every person you meet. Be of value to your team members, be of value to your colleagues and your referral partners, be of value to your clients, okay? And you create this ripple effect. You have no idea the kind of impact you can make on one person's heart and mind today that changes the way they feel, it changes the way they show up, and then you don't know who they're having conversations with. And that one conversation you had with them about the importance of having a will and trust in place led them to a conversation over the weekend with their friends about, do you guys have a will and trust? Because my realtor just made me think about this, and I think we all need to make, so these are important life things that are happening that you're being a resource for, okay? So, how do we do it? How do I do it? Okay, I got my list of my 25% and I want to be of value to them. How do I do it? Well, number one, ditch the antiquated sales tactics. Stop worrying about reminding the person that you're a real estate agent. They know. And it's the reason you're not picking up the phone is because it feels so dreadful. So, number two, take your work hat off for a second and ask yourself, if I needed nothing today, if I was set for life, how would I want to feel? Number one. And how am I taking care of myself? How would I want to show up in the world? How would I want to be of value to people today? And more importantly, how will I know? How can I know how to be of value to Kimberly if I haven't had a conversation with her in 3 years? How can I know what the 3 a.m. moments are for her right now if I don't pick up the phone and talk to her? All right? So how will I know? All right? 3-lane highway, we can talk about this offline because I'm running out of time. But what we teach here is that your people, there's a process for peeling back the layers of the onion. And once you identify who you want to serve, that's the seed, okay? This is the catalyst for what I call the discovery process. So again, we got to take the work hat off. And if what I know to be true is that I want to be of value to veterans, for example, then lane one is anyone I know who's a veteran. And the first conversation I'm going to have with them is I'm going to call everyone I know, as long as they're my 25%, and say, hey, I just decided I'm going to put together some resources because I want to be of value and show my appreciation for our fellow military, okay? This would make sense for anyone in the room that's former military, like Kevin, for example. With that being said, I'm going to call Kevin, and where is he? Is he in the room? Are you over here somewhere? Oh, well, I was talking to him last night. Well, who else was former military here? Okay, what's your name? Elton? Okay, so I call Elton, and I say, listen, I'm thinking about putting together some resources, and when you relocated, I'm wondering if you have any resources that were invaluable to you during that transition for you. I imagine that was a pretty unique situation. And if I'm doing this only if I can relate to you, I'm just using this as an example. I'm not former military. But I would ask Elton to introduce me to all of his favorite invaluable service providers. Everything from health and wellness to financial services to contractors, you name it. And I'm going to find out what gaps in the directory he has. And then I'm going to go down the list of all my people in lane one that fit in that target market. And I'm going to gather intel from the people that I want to serve and be of value to. And then lane two is going to be everybody that serves them. So I'm going to start building more relationships. And I'm looking for my 25%. This is key. As I'm building my tribe of trusted local service providers, 3 out of 4 are not going to be the right fit for me. You're going to call that CPA or a state attorney or financial advisor, and they're not going to call you back. And you're going to get disappointed by that. And you're going to think I should just give up. No, you just say, not my 25%. I'm going to keep going until I find people that are a match. High vibe, growth-oriented, supportive, collaborative, and together we're going to link arms and create magic. Because the magic comes from the conversations with other high vibe people, which is why there's so much power in these events. All right, and then lane 3 is everybody else. Everyone else I know. I might call someone who's non-military and say, do you know anybody that's served in the military? Because I'm putting together this resource guide and I want to pick their brain. So I'm using the seed as the catalyst for discovery, which is just conversations, because conversations lead to more action items. Every conversation breeds more action items, okay? And then also, what else has been going on with you? Now I'm going to get to the bottom of the 3 a.m. moment. What are you excited about? What are you worried about? What are you working on? And I'm going to find a way to be a resource. There's no end in sight, like the snowball rolling down the hill. So whether you're in the rut right now or you're at the top of the hill ready to start rolling, you can get out of it by starting to get into conversation with your 25% because it's fun, it's energizing, it's authentic, and it's coming from a place of love and curiosity. All right? So when is the last piece of the puzzle? Do you have a schedule? So I'm gonna fly here. Business owners have a plan. If you wanted consistent income and you told me you were gonna go get a job, I would say to you, what's the expectation of the job? And you would say, I need money. And I'd say, okay, would you take a job working for a business owner that doesn't tell you what time to come to work and what you're supposed to do when you're there? That'd be kind of weird, right? So you take the job trusting that the business owner has a plan and a schedule. And assuming you come to work on time and you do what's expected of you, you're gonna get paid. Now, how do you run your business? Do you have a schedule? Do you have a plan? Do you show up to work on time and do what's expected of you? Because if you do, chances are you're gonna get paid. And you're gonna get paid a lot more than you would working for somebody else's business plan. All right? So they rest and they're present. They lead with their boundaries. They don't cancel appointments, especially with themselves. I want you to think about that. Do you ever have great intentions for your week? You went to the sales training, you got fired up, you made your plan for the week, and then you got distracted? Or you weren't in the mood? Or you decided to take the dog for a walk or empty the dishwasher instead? Right? We don't cancel on other people unless we're sick or there's an emergency. But we cancel on ourselves all day long by making excuses for why we got distracted, for why we were inconsistent. We blame external factors when in fact it's our fear that's keeping us stuck. So make the plan, have the schedule, show up to work on time, don't cancel on yourself. You can create limitless growth in any market, and I'm seeing it all day, every day. The question is, are you willing? I want you to write that down. It's not a matter of whether I can, it's a matter of whether I'm willing. It's not a matter of whether I can, it's a matter of whether I'm willing. So, there's the employee in the top left, there's the truck driver. Do you think the truck driver wakes up every day and says, where should I go today? No, because they have a plan, right? They have a schedule, they have a destination. And it's scary because sometimes we want to put that destination in the GPS and we have no clue how to get there. But if you don't drop that destination in the GPS, you will never see the path unfold. Once you do, there's a million different paths and different amounts of time that it can take to get there, whether you fly or you walk or you ride your bike, right? But the time is passing anyway, so you might as well drop the pin. Nobody's checking your homework. What's the quantum leap for you? What are you going to be celebrating at the end of this year? We don't have to wait around to be like the oak tree. We can just start to grow now. All right? So just some challenging questions for you. Maybe take a photo of that. Do you know your why? Do you know what you want and why? Have you made a list of people you want to serve? You'd love to serve. Not based on what you're going to get from them, but based on what you can give. Because your income will grow in direct correlation to your level of contribution and authenticity and love. And do you have a strategy? Do you have a schedule? And do your results match your vision? So this is a free 5-step guide, to more referrals. The Pursuing Freedom came out of the idea that, sorry, I'm blocking you. Pursuing Freedom is the name of a book I published in 2016 because when I had that experience of doubling the business and almost quitting and then learning to scale, I started teaching real estate agents. I started teaching a lot of workshops and doing a lot of coaching for realtors and mortgage lenders. And then I decided to put that workshop into a book to help more people. So it was Pursuing Freedom. Then it became a podcast in 2018. And as we continued to do the podcast and the training and speaking and coaching, I kept on hiring more loved ones and my business continued to grow. And in 2022, I retired my mortgage license, having taken the business from 75 grand in debt in 2019 to 75 million in volume in 2022. And thanks to real estate investing, we were able to retire myself and my husband from our W-2s. And now I do this because I love it. And I believe each and every one of you has the power within you to unlock the light within and to shine that light and to create a wildfire of opportunity should you be willing to choose to do it. That's my Instagram, but that's in the book, which I think is super cool. And thank you. This has been a real honor to be up here with you guys. I'm so grateful.
That was so good. So good. Okay, so one of my favorite parts was don't cancel on yourself. I feel like you guys know when you set your alarm and you're like, I'm going to go to the gym 6 a.m. and it goes off and you get up and you're like, oh, I got to check that email, I got to do that. And then you don't make it a priority and then it's 8 o'clock and now you've ruined your window. I feel like that's the worst way that I always cancel on myself. But if I had an appointment, I would always show up. I mean, you're exactly right, so.
Yeah, it's really wild. And our ability to be present, like when you're with someone in a meeting, our ability to be present with somebody else, because we would never want to let them down, right? We're servant-hearted people. So we don't cancel on our appointments. We put our phone out of sight. We give our full attention to people. And then it's so challenging to be alone with our thoughts, to carve out time as the business owner to reflect and vision and goal set and plan, and then to execute. And it requires us prioritizing ourselves as the business owner as much as anything else. And that's all it is really where are your priorities? A gal on my podcast once said, she realized after 10 years of selling real estate, being a workaholic, working 24/7, having her laptop out at her kids' games, grabbing phone calls in every nook and cranny of the day, she realized her actions were not a reflection of her true priorities. And I was like, oh, right? You can feel that. How often are your actions reflecting your true priorities? Like if your priority is financial freedom, do your actions reflect that? If your priority is health, do your actions reflect it?
Yeah, and I think something else that was really interesting is when you said to, focus on this 25% and call who brings you joy or who makes you happy, who makes you smile. And Daniel kind of said the same thing with what brings you joy. So I think at the end of the day, we have to look between ourselves and find that happiness, and then it exudes within our business. And I think people can read that. If you're miserable and you hate your job, you're going to show up like that. So I really think that was really impactful. Thank you.
We've got time for 2 or 3 questions if people want to raise their hands. Anybody? That's just because you took everybody's breath. Oop.
You did amazing. I was just going to say I loved it.
There.
Yeah. By the way, great job. Give and Take was a book I read 2010 too that transformed my business. So that would be, I think, Adam Grant? No.
So I did Go Giver.
Go Giver.
So, yeah.
That's what it. Go Giver.
Bob Berg and John David Mann. Yeah.
Yeah. Great book. So with your referral business, and I don't know if you covered it now. I know that eventually, we're in real estate to hopefully be a good steward of it and be able to have the ability to go from having to choosing to do real estate, right? And it sounds like with you're like, okay, as soon as you got the choice, you decided, okay, I don't need to do that anymore. I can focus on a calling that's a little bigger than what you expect than it was before. What kind of things did you do initially to get yourself there when it comes down to, I see that you were building your business properly, and what were you doing with the investment and the income to steward that properly so that way you had the choice to step away from it, right? Because I think that's what everybody wants here. They want success in real estate, but what they want is the freedom that it could give you.
Yeah, it was very accidental. We kept our first place that we bought for $95,000 in Denver in 2008 with like a $3,500 down payment, and we found the second home before we listed the first one. So we were like, oh, back to Craigslist, Matt King. It's like we put it on Craigslist and we kept house number 1, and it brought in some cash flow. We were like, oh, that was kind of cool. And then I was laughing when David Perret was talking yesterday because I was a lender and my husband was in the Navy, and I didn't realize about the veteran loan until our third loan. So I used I did a conventional loan on house 1, pulled 10 grand for 5% down on a $200,000 house for house 2, did a VA loan for house 3. Seller paid the closing costs. We got our earnest money back at the closing table. We got a house and $3 grand. And then we bought our first condo in the mountains, and that was $195,000. We got lucky, and we also bought just what we needed, nothing more. So we always just like incrementally got just what we need and nothing more, keep it simple and hold on to it. And then we got lucky being on the path of growth in the ski town, and so we went on to buy 4 or 5 more there, did some out-of-state Airbnbs, and some passive investing. So I mean, yeah.
Did you partner with somebody to do and give referrals? Because you had a business that was it was residual, right? It kept coming in, and referral biz and all this other stuff. I guess that might be another thing too for people that are here. There's a lot of operators right now that are tired, that want to get out of the business, but also have this level of stewardship to the clients that they built. Did you partner with somebody to say, hey, take the business, give me 25% of anything you close, keep nurturing the people the way that you're nurturing, or did you just close it down and say that's it?
Well, I essentially sold it to my friend over the course of 3 years. So after that quantum leap in 2019, we had 17 closings in 1 month, and I was really proud of myself because I had to get that P&L out of the red. And I called my coach and I said, I feel like I just moored a ship to port and I'm on the wrong island. My heart and soul is in teaching, in coaching, and I was doing way too much of the time. And I did the scariest thing I've ever done in my business. I stopped taking all client-facing communication. So I got a new cell phone number and ported my old one to a phone system for our office. And when Molly would answer the phone, she'd say, and I was on the mortgage side, so Fairway Mortgage, this is Molly speaking. And then they say I was looking for Erin. And then she'd say, oh, Erin's at a conference this week, but I'd love to help you out. You're working with so-and-so that makes you VIP. Let's get going. And there was never a problem. I prepared for the worst. I put aside a runway for 12 months to never get paid in case I put myself out of business by doing that. And the business ended up going from 26 million to 43 million that year. So I learned I wasn't that important. The ego gets in the way sometimes. And so that's when I started firing myself from everything I don't enjoy. And
that's a gem. I think if anybody takes anything from it is you set a small domino up to be able to give you the safety net so you could step away and realize how unimportant you actually are in the business.
And to your point, I became a better mentor. I became way more present with my team. Previous to that, I was still doing way too much. And so we do this all the time. Team leaders hire help, but you keep running the same pace. And your team members don't want to bother you because you look so busy. Was that Nicole that was talking about that? Yeah. So it's we're still running like a chicken with our head cut off, even though sometimes we're surrounded by rock stars saying, let me help you. And when I finally fired myself from the stuff I hated doing, even though I felt guilty firing myself, guilt is a big piece of this, is the fear of making changes because it might hurt somebody else is what kept me going in certain things for so long. And then I would fire myself, and then we'd have this next quantum leap, and then I was so much more present to help my team members become successful. And I think was a Matt. It's the happiness and success of the individuals is the happiness and success of the collective and vice versa. So if my team members are happy and successful, the whole ship rises. That's how I feel.
So buy a burner phone.
Yeah, I literally got a burner phone, which is the number that you all can call me on today.
All right, Real Estate Rockstars. So hopefully you guys loved hearing one of our speakers from last month's Mastermind. If you are considering joining us for next year, now is the time to sign up. We're only going to have ticket sales for the next 30 to 45 days. And after that, we cut it off so that way we can focus on providing value and not selling tickets. So for the event this next year, February 25th to 27th in Austin, Texas, if you're interested in getting a ticket, you can go to realestaterockstarsmastermind.com. And if you want to chat with me about anything, as always, come find me on Instagram at Erin Bradley. Thanks for listening.